Hello and welcome to Sporting Jibberish. I'm Stuart Booth.
I'm Jack Luffman.
Before anybody at home panics, neither of us have COVID. We are A-OK. We just have a slightly different timetable to each other. So that's why we're in completely two different venues. And I'm actually in, it's not a gaming room, it's actually Harry's bedroom.
Reliving your youth age, Stu.
Yeah, loading, playing games, yeah. But that's just everyday occurrence for me. Right, so Luffers, you are donning the one and only Wanderers top. Does that mean last night's cup final was a success?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I would have worn it anyway. But yeah, it was another victory for the Wanderers and the boys, and another trophy, winners' trophy in the cabinet. I've got the medal there. Look, solid goals. JMR Ramadan Cup champions 2022. So there we go.
You said it was chocolate in the middle?
I've not got to that part yet. It's a bit tough. But yeah,
so we've gone straight in with the old let's go on with what's going on with the week. So apart from another successful competition, anything else happening on the Wanderers front? You must be now, giving yourself a bit of time off, ready for pre-season, ready to start back up September time?
Yeah, that's it. We've had the discussion. So they do run summer tournaments. I think probably regular listeners of the pod will realise that you can basically play all year round here. We were contemplating a summer one, but I think after last night, we bit of a consensus to say we'll leave it at that now. Probably have a few get-together socially between now and before sort of July, before a lot of us will head home or whatever for a few weeks. Planning from a committee point of view, we'll be planning for next year already. So we're looking to try and get some sponsors on board and where we're going to enter teams, how many teams we're going to enter. We've got the club tour in July, back to the UK. And then sometime, I think Clint was sort of saying beginning of August, we'll start some pre-season, like I say, ready for September to have a tilt at, I think, what looks like probably a step up a division in the DSL.
I love how you say we might organise a few social events. Every week's a social event in the Wanderers calendar, isn't it? You're always out.
Well, that's just how we are. That's just what we club, like we said at the dinner. You know, there's lots of teams in Dubai, but there's not many clubs. We're one of them now. So, yeah, we're good. Probably some golf. And I think we're going to have a trip to Abu Dhabi to sort of go on to the Abu Dhabi boys patch, if you like, because obviously they've, as you well know, at the dinner, Stu, there's 5 or 6 of them who have committed week in, week out to come to Dubai to play. So I think it's only fair that we sort of recognise that. So we're going to head there, I think, at some point in the next month or so.
Yeah, I was going to say to you, do I need to warm the arm up for when I'm back in the UK in case you need me?
Yeah, there's every chance, because I think we've got. I mean, the skipper Dave's doing this, but I think we've got 9 travelling from here. Obviously, we have got 3 or 4 Wanderers in the UK. Anyway, but yeah, you never know. You might get a game, mate, and I think 1 or 2 other people. So you never know. You can make a debut on the hallowed turf of Jubilee Park.
Oh, I thought that was at the old thingy Dubai Expo place, Jubilee Park.
Well, they've copied it from Woodall, mate. That's what they did. Must be.
Right. On today's show, apart from that, what we've just done, quick insight to Jack, we're going to be talking about the Premier League. It's the final, well, it's a month prize. I've had a little look, bit of a surprise, a name that I didn't think would be there has won it. Have a quick look at the cup as well, and just anything Premier League. I don't think there's anything you wanted to chuck in there, Luffers, is there?
No, really. Maybe a bit of catch-up. There's some run scores in the county championship after Mr. Stokes had been announced as the test captain. So maybe we'll have a little, if we get time, have a little look at that. But yeah, no, all good. And you've not played football this week, no?
No, because we've had the week off, but the fixture came out and we've got Energizer supposedly next week, but Energizer are struggling for players, which is bad news for us, because that was the game that we really wanted to pinpoint and try and get our goal difference up, to really have a pop at what goes on. Because like I said to you beforehand, is we don't know what the outcome's going to be, the Irish and Dubai FC. If Dubai FC win it, the goal difference makes no difference. If it's a draw, then goal difference is going to count. And if it's a loss, then it's up to us to win our 2 games. But Energize is struggling for players, which means that we just get a 3-0 win, which would be no good to us at all. We need like an 8-goal swing in that game.
And of course, Go on.
Go on, sorry. I was just going to say, last time we played them, it was a 6-1 result to us, so we definitely could have done with another result along those lines.
And you won't want anything. I mean, I was going to say, I could sign for Energizers if you like, just so they get a team. But, you wouldn't want anybody listening from the league to think that there was anything dodgy going on, would you? We wouldn't want any nibbles anywhere.
No, we wouldn't want the league to get upset and claim them misquoted or quoted or something.
No.
Despite 20,000 witnesses, but hey ho, but we'll see what happens. Like I said to you, it's unfortunately, I think when we look back, it'll be we've now waited for somebody else's result, which you never want to go into trying to win the league. It's a bit like the Liverpool City thing. As good as both teams are at the moment, Liverpool are waiting for City to drop something, but I just can't see them dropping. But we might see after we talk about the Premiership here in a short while. But yeah, so at the moment, our household, the big man's on his GCSE, so it's full tilt on the old GCSE aspect. But it's giving one of the boys on the chat a bit of grief yesterday. He's used to play for Manchester United. Pooley, his name is. He was at United under Ferguson, but it turns out he's a massive Man City fan.
Really?
But the strange thing is, he's actually a City lad, so he's actually from Manchester. And I was like, oh, where are you from? He's like, near Platt Lane. Well, I did my coaching badge at Platt Lane. Platt Lane's practically Moss Side, which is a place you do not wander around. Please don't wander around there in the middle of the day, never mind at night time. So I was like, did start to question how has Pooley legitimately got to Dubai, because I don't think people in Moss Side get passports, but we'll do a bit of research into that another point. But yeah, so yeah, I was giving him a bit of grief because of City losing midweek. But we'll start with the Premiership and we'll creep on to European football, because it's been an interesting week for European football, and also for how good English/British teams are, and do we underestimate other countries at times, especially the Germans, considering how well Frankfurt have done. But right, we'll start with the Premiership. So last weekend we saw Newcastle play Liverpool at the lunchtime kickoff. I think for Newcastle fans, I think they'll probably be a little bit disappointed that they probably never had a real good, dig at Liverpool, despite it being 1-0. The people are calling for a foul from Milner on Schlar, but Schlar's the one that catches Milner and then tries to fake an injury. So get up, you big donkey. But yeah, I think Liverpool deserve to win that game, probably by a couple more goals rather than 1-0. But yeah, did you catch any of that game, Jack?
Yeah, I did. I agree with you. I thought it was very, very comfortable 1-0. I think if people had sort of looked at the form that Newcastle had been in and saw it as 1-0, they'd probably go, all right, Liverpool probably had to work hard for that. But I didn't think they had to. I thought Spurs lots of chances. Probably never really hit top gear either. And like you say, as a Newcastle fan at home, the form we've been on, and there's a little bit of sort of history between Newcastle and Liverpool, isn't there? Big games and things like that from back in the day. Yeah, they just didn't really do anything, did they? No. I mean, Eddie Howe's done a great job there. There's no doubt about that. But if they want to go to the next level and challenge top 7, if you like, now, which is Europe, they need somebody better up front than Chris Wood for starters.
Yeah.
And, we all know they've got a bit of money and stuff like that, so it probably will happen. But
yeah, I thought Joe Linton was a very angry man on the day.
Yeah.
I don't know how he avoided getting a second yellow card. He was just an angry person for some bizarre reason, but hey ho. The 3:00 kickoff saw Villa beat Norwich 2-0, which Dean Smith went back to his old club and was then proceeded to be relegated. Southampton, the hit and miss team they are, lost to Crystal Palace at home. The game I did watch was Watford versus Burnley, which was a definite game of two halves. Watford definitely the better team, should have gone in more than one up. And then Burnley just kind of just kept the toe in the door type of thing, and then burst it open with an equaliser, and a couple of minutes later, Brownhill with a great finish to put Burnley 2-1 up, and then they held on to really drag Leeds into that relegation fight, leapfrogging Leeds in at that point in the league. And then we saw Wolves just strange results, just roll over and lose 3-0.
I think they're just running out of steam a little bit, aren't they? I think that's the small squad. I think they just seem to be getting overrun in midfield. Whenever you watch them, it's just like the Alamo, and poor old Connor Cody and his mates at the back just got no answer, have they?
No.
It just looks like they've just run out of gas, which I suppose is always the danger, isn't it? When you've got a small squad, and so therefore you're having to play, the same 11-ish week in, week out, in what is, physically demanding league. So
I think also is the element of not playing for anything as well. So you've got probably Wolves and Burnley in a very, very similar situation with regards to the size of squads. Wolves are quite comfortable. They're not going to hit the top 7. So they're kind of just floating around, languishing now to the end of the season. Meanwhile, Burnley are in a bit of a scrap, and they seem to have been given a lease of life and using probably similar numbers in squad size as Wolves. But yeah, just a bit of a resurgence. I think on the evening time, everybody tuned into Leeds versus City game in hope, in anticipation that Leeds would do something. And then dead bizarrely is give away a soft goal with the header from Rodri in the first half, where it was just Calvin Phillips was there, just didn't attack it, just kind of let it go over his head, and Rodri gets a little glancing header on, and a type of goal that City probably aren't known for, just putting a ball into the box and getting a header. And then they never looked back after that.
No, I did. I was a bit I just want, as a neutral, I don't really care whether Man City or Liverpool win it, quite frankly, but I just want it to carry on, really. I mean, obviously this weekend I want Spurs to beat Liverpool, but I just think for a neutral it makes it more interesting if one of them does slip up, or if Man City slips up to a degree. But Leeds had a decent chance quite early on when Cancelo slipped, and I think it was it Rafinha who went in and should have squared it earlier and just made a hash of it. And after that, they were near and never really in it. They're another side, aren't they, that and he's not to be on end of, but without Bamford, they've really struggled to be clinical in front of goal. And I think they've had a resurgence clearly a little bit under this new fella once they'd sacked Bielsa. But you'll come on to it, but with Sunday's win for Everton, that would have given them an enormous amount of confidence. You just wonder whether Leeds might get dragged in even deeper than they are, because it's one out of those 3 now, isn't it?
Yeah, Ted Lasso's really up against it, isn't he? At Leeds, so really needs that belief sign. But yeah, we'll move on to the Sunday games. Everton, Chelsea. I just like a spluttering car at the moment. Chelsea, aren't they? Create chances but don't score. Don't play Lukaku. Do play him. Don't play him. Werner's in and out. Havertz is a centre forward at some point. Just no real consistency with potential goal scorers there. And obviously, we talk about how that's probably impacted City in Europe, but it's definitely impacted Chelsea this year in the league, considering it, November time, top of the league, looking very strong. Lukaku's firing goals left, right and centre. What's going on? Do you think, is it Tuchel? Has he just not got the ideas? Is it the players, or is it the off-field antics that are creeping into the playing area?
I think it's a combination of everything. I think I've certainly said before here that Lukaku injury, and then I don't know what's gone on as he's got back, trying to get back to fitness, because certainly since he's returned after that injury, he's not been the same player. He's not played as many games. And it's that vicious circle, isn't it? Yeah, I'm fit. I need to get some minutes time, but he didn't seem to be getting any minutes for whatever reason. And then we had that interview where he said he wanted to go, or allegedly wanted to go back home. And so that doesn't help. And then I think since then, he doesn't know his best 11. If you talk about Burnley and Wolves, the Wolves have gone all right because they've probably only got 50. It's easy. He knows his best 11. He's played it. Chelsea got that bigger squad that I think when the form started to waver a little bit, he's chopped and changed too much. And I don't think he knows his best 11. And then, of course, on top of that, all the stuff over Abramovich and the thing that's been caused there, it's clearly going to affect the players, even though they'll be saying it won't and we've got a mind on it. But, I don't think it'll happen. But the worst case scenario is that, the club could go out of business, or certainly where they're at the minute. And that's everybody's contract done. And I mean, don't get me wrong, the majority of those players are going to be able to if that happened, walk into another side. But I don't know. And question marks have to be asked over Tuchel as well, I guess, because he's the man in charge making those decisions. But like you say, I think he summed it rather than spluttering. And I think we said before, if Man United, Spurs, or Arsenal had actually gone on a 7-8 game unbeaten run winning games, then they could have been in jeopardy of not finishing third and maybe even fourth if two of those sides had gone on a bit of a run, where which would have, like you said, November, even the turn of the year, you're like guaranteed top four. I mean, and they will finish that now, but it's more because they've just managed to win when they needed to, and the ones below them are just so inconsistent themselves.
Yeah, really good. Rumoured to be going to Real Madrid at the end of this year. So I know he's refused to sign his contract and he's heading out the door, but looks like he's dead set on Real Madrid. I thought he might have gone to Bayern, but turns out he's going to head to the sunny climes of Spain. The other two games that were on Sunday, so Spurs beat Leicester 3-1 and West Ham lose at home to Arsenal 2-1. Just when you could have done with West Ham doing you a favour.
Yeah.
Arsenal go and sneak another 3 points.
Yeah, and it's going to go down to, I mean, we've got a massive week. We've got you boys away and then Arsenal. So we've got a huge week. And, you know, I'm not overly confident because I think if we can get anything from Anfield will be a bonus. And then I think either way we're going to have to win the game, the North London derby. But it could be all out of the fourth place. Could be all out of distance by then if things go to form. But you know, Spurs' record at Anfield isn't bad, and also probably because you've got to go for it, it probably suits us a little bit rather than playing at home to Brighton who sit in, and it probably suits us a bit more. But
yeah, I was going to say the styles of play, this probably does play in your favour a little bit more because we do have a high back line. You are quick on the counter. If you can get Son up the pitch, and probably if you're putting Son, you'd be leveling him up against Trent Alexander-Arnold and going, right, that's where the gap is.
Yeah.
And you just need to exploit that. But you're right, this could go at any time. I'd still put Liverpool favourites, but I think the way we play probably suits your counter-attacking style a little bit more than anybody else. But I think there's too much resting in it for Liverpool to take it easy. I think they're just going to go full tilt at you. And if you have half a bad day at the back, then they'll punish you. But at the same time, if you can hold on, you know, after that first wave of 20 minutes and look to exploit behind Trent, then I'd say you've got half a chance of sneaking something at Anfield. And I can imagine all the City fans will be hoping the same.
Yeah, I think you're right that. So the game, the way you've got to play it, the way you play it anyway, just to a counter attack. But obviously, the quality you have going forward worries me a little bit without sort of defensive line. To be perfectly honest, but we shall see. Hopefully, you never know.
Yeah, we'll see. But the other game that finished the week off was United beating Brentford 3-0 at home. No surprises there. About time United picked up 3 points, isn't it? But yeah, I do wonder when Ten Hag looks at that squad and wonders what on earth he's going to do and what he's going to bring and how that squad's going to evolve going forward. It's a big jigsaw puzzle.
But particularly when Rakitic Ralph says in his post-match interview that other than the goalkeeping area, they need to strengthen all areas of the pitch. I mean, what's a statement to make?
What have you been doing for 12 months, Brad?
Yeah. Is that him signing off because there's rumour that he's going to go to Austria? Is it as the national manager or something? So
yeah, he's got an offer on the table, but I'm not sure how it's going to work as a consultancy role with United and Austria national manager. We'll see how it works. There's no reason it couldn't. If you're only a consultant, it's not like you're director of football. We need to be in the club all the time, so it could work. But right, this week's fixtures for anybody involved in fantasy football, it's a double game week. Saturday, we'll see Brentford host Southampton, Burnley host Villa. Big game for Burnley, that one. Chelsea at home to Wolves. Neither team really playing for anything. Palace versus Watford. Again, games are done and dusted on that side. Brighton host Man United, which could be a difficult place for United to go. And then the evening game on Saturday night, which is 11:15 for us, Jack, is Liverpool versus Spurs. Minging time. And then Sunday sees Arsenal play Leeds, Leicester at home to Everton. That's a hard place for Everton to go and get a result. I suppose Leicester not really playing for anything, but I can imagine they want to bounce back after going out of Europe.
Yeah.
Norwich versus West Ham. Vardy's back as well for Leicester. That's never a good sign for Everton. And then City host Newcastle. I'm hoping Newcastle turn up a little bit better than they get against us. And then we have a couple of days break. Liverpool play Villa at Villa on Tuesday. Then Wednesday sees Leeds host Chelsea. Which again, Leeds, you could be in a world of trouble if the results go against you.
Yeah.
Leicester home to Norwich. Watford at home to Everton. I just look at some Everton's fixtures. They're not nice. Wolves will host City. Now, see, that's a funny one because Wolves have got a decent record of pulling out some results against City.
Yeah, I think there's some more twists in the tail at both ends of the table, in both like the championship race, the race for the top four, and the relegation. And this is the big week, isn't it?
Yeah, and then the last game is Thursday evening, Spurs versus Arsenal, which could be at that point, it could all be done and dusted if the results have gone against you guys. So if you lose to us, they beat Leeds, it means that they could, and they just pick up a point against you guys, and that's it, done and dusted, isn't it? Because we are literally almost over. But right, Jack, I sent, so that's the Premier League that's done. I sent you a little thing that said 8th of June and why this could be a good day for Spurs. And you have no idea why.
No, I've mentioned this before we came on. Is it something to do with Conte's contract? And it's not. The only other thing I can think of just now, as you mentioned Europe, is it's not nothing to do with this plan of allowing top clubs into European competition, is it? Not that
either. Not that either.
Go on then. Put me out of my misery.
So there's a story coming out of the Daily Fail, so I'll take it with a pinch of salt, is that if Chelsea have not replaced their owner by the 8th of June, more sanctions are going to be imposed on Chelsea, which could lead to them being excluded from Europe and or kicked out of the Premiership.
So that would mean if we finish 5th, we would get Europe?
Yes.
Well, that would be a bonus, wouldn't it? I can't see them being thrown out of the Premiership. Surely something's got to happen. I mean, I think we've touched on it before without getting political and stuff. The people I feel for are the fans. And I don't buy into this. Some other fans are going, oh, yeah, well, they only bought success just like City done. Well, it is what it is. Somebody bought their football club with lots of money and was happy to plough it into it, just as what's happened to City. That doesn't mean that because things then go against said person or consortium, whoever it may be, that they should just lose the football club. I don't like that. So we'll wait and see.
Well, I think on that side of it, there's lots of elements to look at, isn't there? There's obviously they keep trying to sell the club, and now they're getting themselves in debt. And you look at the other clubs that have been punished. So you've got Derby that have got absolutely annihilated. Just because they're a big club shouldn't mean they should be excluded from some type of punishment. Although I do think that maybe kicking them out of the Premiership is a little bit extreme, but maybe a big sanction for them is the fact they've already got the transfer ban, haven't they? They've not allowed people in there. And maybe kicking them out or not giving them a Champions League spot should be enough.
Yeah.
I would go as far as giving them the Champions League ban.
Yeah, no, I don't think. I think they should be punished. I'm not saying that, but I think I don't know. I just as much as it would be good for Tottenham if that happened, that scenario you said happened, then I just think you've got to be a bit careful. And yeah, a little bit. Like I said, they've already got sanctions in. If Europe, I can see why they would be chucked out from Europe. Punishment, yeah, but I think just be a bit careful of the fans and things like that, I reckon. But we should see.
Would you take it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't feel that sorry for them then, can you?
Nah, empathy, not sympathy.
All right, okay.
Yeah, no, we'll see. So June the 8th is the time then.
That is the date that has been floated around. So moving on from that, we're going to look at European football. There was, I said to you beforehand, I just wonder what standard we are at with regards to the football. So we saw Liverpool go through Champions League. We saw a Spanish club beat Man City. And I wonder now, and I did mention this beforehand, is how much the lack of a striker is going to cost City. I thought they were going to go through it. I thought they had enough probably attacking players in the team. But looking at the Riyad Mahrez misses, Laporte misses, amount of chances they create, and Real Madrid not having a shot on target till the 90th minute has really come back and bit City in the butt, end up losing to Real Madrid. So now you've got Champions League, you've got an English club versus Spanish club, which is probably better for Europe rather than watching two English teams in the final again. Do you agree, Jack?
Yes, I do agree. I think, albeit I'd have quite liked seeing an all-English final again. But yeah, I agree with you about the Man City. I didn't see much of the Liverpool game, I must admit. But the City game I did get to watch the second half, I think. And like you say, you just thought, particularly when Mahrez scored, you thought, oh, that'll be it. But when you look back at some of the chances they missed first half, that one that Grealish has done really well, and then for Bizarres and Mahrez hasn't managed to put it in or know what he's doing. They're the goals that you're talking about. They're the goals that the striker would score, whether it be Haaland or Kane or anybody, Lewandowski, somebody, you know. And I know I'm talking about the best there, but surely that's what City were aiming at in terms of trying to buy Kane in the summer. And 100%, I think that, and it still could cost them in the Premier League again. That's not done and dusted. And I know they scored loads of goals, and I know they scored, but even against Leeds, we mentioned it earlier in the recording, that they won comfortably in the end. But I still think if they had a proper striker, that have got 7 or 8, or potentially, you know, I do agree with you that it's the lack of striker, particularly in Europe, I think, and particularly against the top sides in the Premiership. I think it's their Achilles heel, and nobody will convince me otherwise. Because for whatever a great player Foden is, and certainly going to be, and he showed glimpses, didn't he, again all season, he's not a striker. He's trying to play Grealish up there. He's not a striker. Jesus, okay, he's had a bit of a purple patch, scored 6 in a week, didn't he, last week? But he clearly doesn't think he's the top dog, and I agree with him. I don't think he is a top dog because he doesn't play him in the big games. So, yeah, I think that said, their defending for those 2 Real Madrid goals in injury time was diabolical. I thought it was absolutely diabolical, and I thought that his substitution of De Bruyne was stunk of a bit of arrogance. I'll be honest, because I know by that point it looked like they were going to do it, and I know that he's got such a wealth of talent on the bench, and he brought Grealish on. I thought had a good little cameo, to be fair, so there's nothing against him. But it's Champions League semi-final when he knows it's Madrid's history in the competition, even this season, their late goals, to take your best player off, one of the best players off in the world, unless he was carrying an injury, I thought stunk of arrogance.
Yeah. So question then is, have Real Madrid used up all their lucky tokens this year in the Champions League, or will they just squeeze one more? At the same time, Salah's got some unfinished business against Real Madrid, having gone back for 3 or 4 years where Ramos popped his shoulder and caused him to limp off early doors. So it makes for an intriguing game because these two clubs certainly have a history against each other, in recent history against each other, where on paper you'd say Liverpool, with their energy in midfield, should just outrun Kroos and Modric, but Benzema just keeps popping up with these goals. Yeah. Vinicius Junior is going to cause Alexander-Arnold no end of problems. Does Klopp have a big decision to make there and go with Gomez as a better defender to try and stop that? Or do you take away from your attacking prowess by bringing him off?
No, I think you go with your best 11. Your best 11 is Alexander-Arnold, because that's your creativity, isn't it? Real Madrid don't know, it's sort of reminiscent a little bit of Spurs' run, wasn't it, to the Champions League final 3 years ago, And you'd argue that Spurs is luck ran out that day. So I don't know. Real Madrid they've got a history with not just Liverpool, with the actual Champions League themselves, haven't they? Ancelotti seems to be a bit like Benjamin Button in terms of management and achieving. So, I'd rather the English club win. I think Liverpool are favourites. And I think if you play to your potential, I think you'll have too much. But that said, I wouldn't rule Madrid out of it because it's Real Madrid at the end of the day. It's Real Madrid in Europe in a European Cup final. And we've also, before in any sporting event, a final, with it being just a one-off game, anything could happen.
Yeah. Right. We'll talk about a bit more in depth because you've still got a good 23 days before that, or 22 days before that final. But the question is, and this is what I asked you, was, are we at a point now with European football where one country is particularly dominant, or are we seeing a nice little spread? And I want to throw out the other two European competitions here. So Europa League, so a German team versus an English team, German team advancing with Frankfurt beating West Ham. Scottish team in there against another German team with the Scottish team advancing. And then we have the conference competition, which we saw a French team and a Dutch team with the Dutch team advancing, and an Italian team and an English team with the Italian team advancing. So across the three finals, we've got England, Spain, Germany, Scotland, Holland or Netherlands versus Italy. So for probably the first time, we have a lovely spread of teams from different countries involved in it. Or do we look at the semi-finals where we've actually had 4 English teams in the semi-finals, and Spain have had 2 teams in there, and the Germans have had 2 teams. So is it still very dominant from the English point of view?
No, I think it's probably a bit more of a spread of that. And I say that because take the Champions League, I think that their top end size, and I still think the Premiership is the best league, the most competitive. Champions League, we've got 2 to the semi-final, and those other competitions have allowed more teams to be in it, clearly. And so I think that allows for other sides from the other leagues to advance further in European competition. I actually quite like the fact there's 3 competitions. It always used to be when we were growing up, wasn't it? You used to have the Cup Winners' Cup, the UEFA Cup, and the European Cup. So people saying, I think it's more the name of the conference rather than what they've called it, rather than the actual competition itself, quite frankly. But I think that probably what's happened is that the ones that have dropped down, something like a team like Roma with Mourinho in charge, are always going to be a strong outfit in that 3rd tier competition, aren't they? Whoever they ended up playing. Whereas you suppose West Ham in the 2nd tier competition were probably punching above their weight on their run. So, so I still think the Premiership is the strongest league in the world, but I think it does show that there are some good sides around Europe, and not particularly those sides at home. I would probably say it's more difficult for sides to travel to places like Roma and Frankfurt than it probably is to other places and we'll take Leicester as an example, in terms of the atmosphere, the crowd creates. So maybe that has something to do with that. I don't know. Yeah. But one thing I will say, I was really pleased to see Glasgow Rangers get through last night. And have you seen the footage? The actual ground was moving.
Yeah. Well, it's 150 years anniversary for Rangers, and 50-year anniversary since they last won a European Cup.
Yeah.
In Spain against a German team.
Oh, there you go. Who knows? It'd be nice to see them win it. I must admit. And of course, their long-serving kitman died this week. I saw that all over social media, and lots of players paying tribute to him. So that was obviously a good end to the week for that news as well. So it'd be good to see Liverpool and Rangers win anyway. That's where I'm going, but we'll see.
All right, I'm going Liverpool, Frankfurt.
I'm going to go Roma as well.
Roma, yeah. I think Mourinho's got that little bit of something that gets him through games.
Did you see him?
Tammy scored as well, didn't he? So that's good news for England.
Did you see? There's 2 tweets this morning I've seen that, or one was last.
Crying.
No, not yet. One of them was last night when his press conference before the game, actually, where he said finals something about not being sacked before the final. And there's a tweet this morning saying breaking news: Ryan Mason will take charge of AS Roma for the remaining 4 weeks of the season.
Oh dear. Yeah.
There we go.
Right. Quickly, tell us about the county cricket, as that's all started up again, and obviously with the appointment of the new skipper.
Yeah. So Stokes was officially unveiled, I think, to the media earlier this week and said one or two things about how he wants selfless cricketers and he wants people playing on the front foot and that anybody's open for selection. He said that he will bat 6, so he gets the best out of himself with bat, ball, and in the field. So that almost opens up another batting spot, if that makes sense. So, and then the latest round of county championship started yesterday, and there was a few runs flying around, notably from, well, first of all, Alistair Cook scored another 100, 71st first class 100 now. By all accounts, I think they've tried to get him out of retirement, but he's far happier playing for Essex, working on his farm and doing a bit of media work. But Rory Burns got another 100, Sibley another 100. These are guys who've been in the Test match side and semi-cracked it, I guess, but are currently out, or certainly were out of the reckoning at the end of the winter. So other players, Milan's in great form. Vince got 80 odd yesterday. Notably, Anderson has been rested because he's on a central contract, so England call the shots there. So he's been rested, as I believe Stuart Broad has. So that tends to suggest and back up what Stokes said on Monday, that both those two will be in his best 11 if fit. So it's just very interesting how people have sort of stepped up another notch the county championship yesterday. Today, hopefully, Stokes himself is playing at Durham, but they were only 3 down overnight, so he most likely get a bat today. And Root is playing for Yorkshire, albeit Essex only 3 down, so he too might get a bat today. So yeah, I think it's a very interesting time for English cricket, a very interesting month ahead before that first Test match. I hope that 2 things happen. I hope that they select people in form, wherever they are and whatever age they are, but also that there's a few just wildcard selections as well, to get excited. What I don't want to see is just going back to type or people that were there because they were there at the end of the Caribbean tour. It's a whole new regime. Rip it up, Stokes in, get us going again.
Well, we'll watch that with bated breath. Right.
Well, I will. You won't, will you? I will, but you won't.
Unless I need a nap. I'll avoid it like the plague. But right, on to the fancy football. So bad news, Booth went out this week, which is grim. I think somehow Keggin cheated. I'm still looking for, he's done something to the system, which obviously lost me the game. But interestingly enough, the quarterfinals sees Keggin play none other than Shrek 11.
Oh, it's a battle of the big fellas.
Yeah, I can't believe Shrek's made it this far considering how low down in the league he is, but doing well. So one quarter-final will pitch itself. It'll be Smithy versus Stu Birkwood in there. Lisa Bateman plays Mustafa Ali in another quarters. We mentioned Shrek versus Keggs. Luke Gregory will play Matt Behan. He's still in there, clubfoot, in the last semi-final. So we are coming to the business end of the season in regards to the Cup, but the league saw the end of month prize, and the winner was none other than Jason Smith. He managed to pick Lisa Bateman to first place with 391 points. She had 369, and Simsy or Darrell was on third place with 355, all knocking Tom Jacko off that elusive top spot, which he was for the month at the beginning of last week. But he is still good 81 points clear of second place in the league with only a couple of weeks left to go. So
that monstrosity of a trophy and a bunch with us is almost in touching distance, Jacko.
Yeah, Jacko, it looks like it's coming your way. And it's the wife keeps asking me to put it in the shed. I'm like, no, a chance. She's like, well, it's just so big and so ugly. I'm like, not ugly. Might be big, but it's not ugly.
We got
but yeah.
I managed to get to pass last night's trophy on to Ash. So I've still got two of the 4 here. Dave's now got 1 and Ash has got 1. So
as chairman, you should keep hold of all of them.
Well, I'm going to have a cabinet built in this room. That'll go down well, wouldn't it? Can you imagine?
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. The wife would love that. But right, Luffers, this is the end of another show.
Yeah.
Eagerly anticipate potential game week next week for us. Jack Luffman against Booth when he plays for Energizer. You play centre back, I can play centre forward. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, not a problem. Energizer, I'm all yours.
Excellent. End of the day, Jack.
What do we know?